Hello and welcome to Deep Impact. My name is Anuj Raite and today I am in conversation with Mr. Deepak Thimaiya on history. Sir, I want to take this conversation extremely slowly, right? I want to address the most basic things and try and understand the basic overview of it. First things first, why as a student I need to learn history?
If you don't learn history, like the proverbial thing that you're condemned to repeat it. But I don't think that history is so important. Because I think when the world was full of conflicts, you had to know not to repeat things. And first of all, the maximum information people had about their history and culture was only the local history. But today, you don't have to specifically learn history. There's so much history that's available. So you don't have to put that effort to learn history. Once upon a time that you had to learn, because if you're going to be a decision maker, that you have to know the legacy, the history, the culture, the way the peoples of the nation behaved through the times, and what mistakes they made, and what aggression they faced, what conflicts they were involved in, what are the good things that they achieved, and so on, for them to be able to shape the future better. But today, it's a different matter altogether, because there is so much history that you're bombarded with. And good and bad history. Bad history in the sense that doesn't have any authenticity at all. It's just done for entertainment, to titillate, basically to provoke you. That's the kind of history people like, where in every story you're the hero. Or in every story that you are the aggressor. You are the powerful person. You beat everybody up. You finished everybody. Even without any substantial material about Alexander, whether he was the great or not is a different matter. But people talk about him like, they were like sitting at their homes and watching him through the window, and they know everything about him. Incidentally, there is very little about Alexander in Indian history. There is very little reference to him also, particularly about Pururava or Purushottama, whatever you call him. And most of these things are only seen in their history. And Alexander's history, I think, was written by about 8 historians. It's not just one person who could have made a mistake. And Alexander's story is from Macedonia till India. So historians from different regions, different countries wrote about him. And he didn't just come to fight here. He fought so many people on the way. So just to, denigrate Alexander, to say that, oh, he came to India, he was defeated, or he was humiliated, without even any basis of things. Just say, of course, he was very impressed with India. India was a great country. But then you're allowed to also talk about, why he did not come into mainland India. People talk about this Pururava. I don't even know that, whether that is completely a believable story. But there was another story, a bigger story. That is that there was a king who was Nanda. You understand? But he was a greater king. People say that the Greeks were afraid of him. And that's one of the reasons they did not want to advance into the mainland or to the heartland. Because they thought that the Nanda's army with about 3,000 elephants and so many soldiers and all could decimate them. And that Nanda was not an upper caste ruler. I think he was the son of a barber.
Okay.
So nowhere in the history that you would actually try to make a backward class person a hero. So you would rather have the story end in a place where you have a person from a superior background who actually becomes the hero, and whether he won or lost, that you want to show the invader as a weak despot, and the story is convenient to you. But where does the story come? The story is not mentioned in either your Puranas, or it's not mentioned in your history, it's not mentioned in any concurrent history. So how come you got this story? You get that story only from Alexander's history. So Alexander, having treated Pururava in a certain way, It's not for the first time that he did something like that. Even when he was in Persia, when he was going behind Darius, and he actually goes to the ends of the kingdom to actually, capture him, and Darius dies. But he doesn't insult Darius. He brings the body with all respect and ensures that he gets the right funeral. So that was something about Alexander. That didn't happen only in India. That story doesn't make India great or small or insignificant or whatever. India was great even otherwise. You don't have to denigrate one Alexander to make India great. So we have been suffering that, I think, inferiority complex, where we always feel that to be able to make India look bigger, better, greater, that you have to put somebody down. But then if Alexander wanted to come to India itself, that itself is a great story about India.
Correct.
You don't have to keep telling people that, see, this happened to Alexander. You got it? If Alexander had his path set to come into India, even after Alexander, if you had so many Greeks who came into India, see, the only problem with Indian history is that we were not great in writing it down.
Okay.
Because most of our people were perhaps unlettered. And we were not into recording history, like keeping, apart from some edicts and so on. So, just because, like Michael Crichton, one of the greatest writers, Jurassic Park and all this, he says the absence of proof is not the proof of absence. Just because you don't have the proof doesn't mean that it didn't exist at all. Unfortunately, you don't have the proof. So just because you don't have books about how India was during the times of the Greeks invading or even before that, that doesn't mean that India didn't exist at all, or India was like some what do you
Random
say,
forest
Netherland.
Yeah.
You understand?
So when you talk about bad history, good history, and you also highlight the fact that India did not necessarily have bad history but bad historians or writers, is that also one of the reasons why it is not event based and hero based?
No, let me tell you, what is the history that we are talking about? Till some of the epigraphists and some of these archaeologists and with the new archaeology, the modern archaeology, started digging the sites in India. We didn't even know about so many of our kings. Till somebody deciphered the edicts of the Buddhist sites or the Mauryan kings, you didn't know their story. You thought whatever that you knew then was what you knew. You understand? We should be grateful to some of the Western historians. Like we did not develop archaeology in India. We did not develop epigraphy in India. That doesn't mean that we didn't have history. Like they say, Harappan or Mohenjo-daran or so many others. Like they say, some of the, if at all ours was such a great history, why don't we have such big, monstrous buildings and edifices and all that? It's because in some of those areas they didn't have stone. You understand? So they built it with mud. You got it? But they built for that time some very, very great architecture. But just because there's no rule that they have to stay and stand the test of time, because that's not how you measured. You measured. See, we have been a very mature civilization. How have we been a mature civilization? We are emotionally mature. You understand? We didn't want to build edifices because we thought of the continuity of the spiritual existence. We didn't look at the material existence. We thought, if I live in a certain way, how would my Atman be in the next life? So maybe he would not be a king, but he would be a saint. So it could be in material terms, it could be demotion. But in spiritual terms, it is promotion.
Okay.
So our understanding of growth, development, progress was very different from the Western idea. That doesn't make them smaller, them inferior, them, crude, crass, whatever. It is just that we are different civilizations.
I want to get back to that hero worshipping thing that you said because it really interests me. I want to understand, why do you think it started? Where did it start?
Which one?
The fact that we need a hero, and to put it more
No,
precisely,
that's very, because India has been, see, we have been collectively one. I've always said, maybe that India did not have a common, common idea of God and religious practice. But we generally believed in a God who was not the only God who was like most superior.
Okay.
We believed in God being in different forms. So nobody questioned, sometimes in folklore, because the folk gods are very different from the Vedic gods. In the folklore, you could also have a fight with a god, you could have arguments with a god, you could shout at a god, you could abuse a god, accuse a god, you understand? Because we all thought that, gods had certain responsibilities and they were supposed to do it. That's why I always say we were always democratic. You understand? People in India, people had kings. Okay, we had a lot of principalities and kings and kingdoms and all that. But never we ever gave the idea to a king that he was permanent. He could be a king only as long as he had the favor of the people or the support of the people.
Correct.
So in the sense, though people did not go and vote or whatever, people always express their opinion. But I think the ideal for Indian democracy is Sri Rama's democracy. Why Rama is so important is because throughout the ages, the model for a good king was Rama. Whether it was a mythological story or historical story or whatever, people were made to believe that the standard for good governance was Rama. A good king. A good king, not just good in terms of him being a god king, because Rama never said that he was God, but somebody who respected his, subjects' opinions, their, thoughts and their mandate. It's impossible to even think of a situation in modern day India where a very simple washerman's opinion is taken so seriously that the king actually, abandons his wife and, sends her away to the forest because even an ordinary washerman's, today I'm sure that, the government doesn't listen even if an opposition MP says something.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not just about the BJP. It's the same. It's the same with all the parties because it's like that shows the lack of confidence that you have in your own worth. That you think that you could be unseated at the drop of a hat. But people knew who was Sri Rama, even if you take it as a story, just in the context of the story. So people didn't want a replacement for Rama. They wanted him only to be better.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
So there is something called parishkaran. In the sense you just purify it. You make it better. And the king is not, he is the property of the people. As much as he is the lord of their, existence. He's also the property. He also is owned by the people. So he can't say my wife. She is the king's wife. You understand? My wife and king's wife are two different things.
Talk about Lord Ram. That brings me to an interesting relationship between two major topics, that is mythology and history. Now, as you stated in your first answer, that about how lack of proof for something does not necessarily mean that did not happen.
Because a lot of history in India has been in the form of mythology. That is one thing sad about India, but there was no necessity for people to say that this is history, this is how it is, and what people just believed. You understand? So what is the proof that history, pure history is history to begin with? Just one man's, writings based on how much he was patronaged by the king, how much bakshis he was given, or how many acres of lands he was given. So how do you quantify?
Maybe it is the plurality of the proofs.
No, I am saying that, for instance, like even to this day, the British history, one of the best recorded histories that you have, it's still being explored. Still people are trying to understand, what he did, why he did. Did he actually do it? Was this king good, that king bad? Was Lionheart, chicken heart? You understand? If these things all over the world, even in histories that have been recorded so well, there is question about the authenticity. Of course, that Indian history can be subjected to a lot of brickbats.
I want to fast forward to the 20th century when India gained independence and our history was being written so that students could learn it in their scholastic manner. Now, the thing here, as you addressed yourself in the first question, is the fact that history itself is very subjective, right? So, the fact that
No, not always, to a great extent.
Okay.
Because we don't know. For example, we didn't have independent historians. For instance, I think one of the travelers who went to Patna, or Pataliputra, he thought looking at the buildings and the magnificent structures, he thought that was built by spirits. You understand? So you could have opinions like that. You understand? So that doesn't mean that's very subjective. But what is the alternative you have? At least here is somebody at least talking about. So if you remove the built by the spirits, but then you have something like, oh, maybe it was a great city. You got it? So you somewhere have to see some truth in between. That is discretion.
Okay.
But to completely rely on history is only political.
Okay.
That's political stupidity as well as political cunningness. You understand? And that's nothing wrong. A politician is supposed to do that. They've done it in Germany when they wanted to, justify the Third Reich. They brought in the historical figures and they brought in some historical, personalities, and then they started giving the story. Like I was just watching this latest advertisement of the Russian army asking people to get recruited. That's a very powerful thing because, you're talking about the great, like you don't tell the greatness of but you like go and tell the person who is the guard not the guard, the security guy at a mall, is this what you're born for? You go and ask somebody who is weightlifting, is this all that you want to do? So you create that impression like you're born for better things. So you show something. What is the better thing? You talk about, those glory days. What is Russia's glory days? During Catherine the Great's time. Catherine was not even Russian. She was a German princess. The greatest glory that Catherine, the Russian history has ever had is during Catherine the Great, who actually added about 5 lakh square kilometers land or something like that. And she is the one who consolidated. She is the one who gave them money. She is the one who made them great. Who was actually called a whore. You understand? So you have to decide whether Catherine the Great was like, you want to see her like that, you want to see her somebody who copulated with a horse because that's how they wanted to discredit her. You understand? So it's all about creating stories. So sometimes the stories themselves are completely lopsided. So if you talk too much about Catherine the Great's unification of Russia, then you'll have to hide the story of her not even being a Russian. And then you talk, no, it's actually a husband, but her husband actually hated Russia, though he was Russian. And he wanted the Germans to actually go and attack Russia.
Talking of stories, I want to understand government's tendency to select what history to choose or to let students study and what not.
That's just clever. It's just being clever. But nobody stops you. It's just a short time. Like if the BJP wants it in a certain way, just for a short time. I'm sure that, people can just go back like the German Nazis wanted to stop people from reading a lot of books. They burnt books. The book burning was a big event. What happened? People have gone back today, it's a different Germany altogether. That's immaturity. That's the immaturity.
Of the government?
Of any party, any political party. Congress also has tried to do a lot of things. Congress has tried to ban books and movies and, shut up people and all that. That every political party will do if at all they are powerful, because that's the illusion that they have. They believe in their own permanence. They think that, they are there forever. You understand? They don't realize that people just can turn. People cannot be subjugated for too long. It's just temporary.
I ask this question because there is criticism not just against the BJP government but also against the Congress government, stating the fact that there were more kings and more kingdoms than Mughals, but the history textbooks majorly talk about Mughals.
But I think one thing about the Mughals is that Mughals ruled for about 200 years, and Mughals were very powerful. Mughals were not like any other kings or whatever, and they had the support of a lot of Indian kings, Hindu kings. So they didn't become great just on their own. They had strategic alliances, they had marital alliances, they had economic, tie-ups. So without the,
Intermingling.
not intermingling, that very, very clever, deal between the Hindu kings and the Mughal kings, I don't think that, who were they? Do you think they directly ruled anybody? Most often they were the Hindu kings who were actually ruling on behalf of the Mughal kings. Do you think Aurangzeb directly went and ruled somebody? No. Do you think they even had that kind of population to rule the Hindu population? No. So we never want to talk about the bad Hindu kings who actually were bad to the Hindus. You got it? In some of the cases, like the Hindus were not disturbed. They were allowed to do a lot of things. Unless there was a war or something like that. But as long as their king was subject to the Mughals. You got it? See, I'll tell you, why are we so much stuck up with this history? It's only for political reasons, to just corrupt the mind, to make people feel a sense of inadequacy.
Like?
No, you have to feel that, maybe in history we have not been taken care of well, we have been like this, so I think we have been wronged, so we'll make them pay now. So that's been the same. I'm sure Hindu kings have also done bad. Why all this about, making some Hindu king great and some Muslim king bad or whatever? There have been equally bad Hindu kings who, I know of kings, the smaller kings who have slaughtered, Hindu men just because, they protested against the king's proclivities and penchant for doing immoral things. So why aren't those things also there? So people should know about why is it like all Hindu kings were so good. It's not true. Hindus were good actually. The ordinary Hindu was a good guy. There have been so many times, because basically Hindu Dharma doesn't talk about, him, her and whatever. Hindu Dharma talks about the whole earth being, the world with 3 worlds being, your home. Mata cha Parvati Devi, Pita Devo Maheshwara, Bandhava Shivaganascha, Swadesho Bhuvanathrayam. You understand?
Yeah.
All 3 worlds are your land.
Do you think, taking from this, you mentioned about political parties, the interest of political parties in history or history-based politics is recent, or has it always been?
That's what I said. It's been done everywhere.
Okay.
From Germany to Russia to America, of course not, because it's a nascent country, political effort. But most of the other places, you have to speak about some glory. Otherwise, how do you want... See, it fundamentally starts with the human aspiration, not to find a house or money or something else to make himself happy. Like the richest people want to get into politics, because ultimately it's about how you stand among people. How many people bow to you? How many people, follow you? You understand? See, the faith is the most, how many people trust you? How many people blindly come behind you? It's not about how many people are fed by you or how many people eat because of you, how many people, wear clothes. No. Ultimately, it's about how many people give their loyalty to you, subject themselves to you.
But has it always...
So human beings' problem is that they are not satisfied by your food, shelter, clothing and all that. How many people from rich families have abandoned things and walked around in a loincloth? You got it? Because it's not about having happiness with material things. It's ultimately about that immaterial thing, that super material thing. You understand? It's about the human being who feels that belief. I think that is the biggest faith, the biggest driving force. So you need to constantly believe in something.
Okay.
That is either you believe in your country, you believe in your God, you believe in your, leader, you believe in your, provider. Believe. Without belief, human being's life is empty. A family can crumble the moment there is no belief.
But the same thing has been used for blatant political reasons or blatant electoral
That's
reasons.
very clever. That's just clever. If you can use it, do it.
Okay.
If you can't counter it by telling that I'll give you rice and I'll give you lollipop and things like that. That can't be countered. You should provide something else bigger for them to believe, so that they will abandon that and come to this.
So that bigger thing will be factual or lie?
See, for example, nobody can promise that I'll give you all helicopters because nobody will believe it. But to say that once upon a time we were a great country, there was gold all around, there were pearls and gems on the roadside. These things are believable, correct? And somebody else stole it and went away. Had to bring it all back.
But practically speaking, how long do you think a political party can win elections on this particular agenda?
See, for example, like when you talk about Ram or Rama, Ram is, I always feel there's a corrupt, the actual Sanskrit name is, Samskrita name is Rama. Rama, you don't have, like so much description of his, jewelry or his palace. You basically have a description of his smile and his gait and his, limbs and his walk and his, So basically you are like enamored by the personality. You got it? And so little about his wealth. Rama had 10 cars, 5 fighter jets, things like that. No, it's all about him. You got it? So the connection. So ultimately, it's always been about the immaterial.
I want to bring your attention to something that we did at our news organization. There's a teaser of this film called Savarkar, which released a few years ago. There's a few inaccuracies which certain historians or history students have pointed out.
Why do you expect a movie to be perfect? Do you think Schindler's List is 100% the way you see in the movie?
But then considering how important a medium that is, it is quite influential.
No, but I think that you're not showing the movie to stupid people. Most of the people who watch the movie have the capability to read, watch other videos of Savarkar, to know on their own. If they want to know all about Savarkar only by watching that movie, be sad about them till they learn. But most of them are extremely educated. They can educate themselves even otherwise. And if they go in the class, people have watched, Kashmir Files or the Kerala Story or whatever. Do you think they're all dullards, like, who know nothing about anything, that they've gone to watch the movie? That's suspension of disbelief, that they don't want to believe in anything else. They want to believe this because they feel that somebody else is telling them.
Even if it's
something.
wrong.
It is an alternative story. You understand? So maybe it's not 100% true, but it's making them think.
Okay.
I'm not saying that that's going to be the permanent thought, but it's going to make them think. What if, take this incident of this boy having killed the girl in Delhi by stabbing 20 times. He was wearing the thread, the sacred thread, and he also introduced himself as a Hindu or whatever, and that's what everybody says. And so what is this purpose? So what BJP has been telling, what RSS has been telling, what Vishwa Hindu Parishad, there are incidents that are happening. So people are connecting, so they understand, they want to believe in the Kerala story.
Okay.
You got it? You just need 2 incidents to actually call somebody a thief. Even if he accidentally picks something up, correct? You have you need corroborating evidence, and the rest of the evidence you manufacture.
But it's still a mechanism of creating prejudice.
But you've been creating prejudice all the time. Indians were shown as Hindus were shown as people who worship all kinds of gods, no decency, wasting things on their gods and everything. If they wasted so much, how come we are becoming more and more wealthy by the day? You understand? So there were a lot of prejudices against us. Hindus were not respected because of our culture, system or whatever. People laughed at from you falling at somebody's feet to doing namaskara to everything. But today, for the first time, people have started thinking maybe the same thing about Islam. People have, since the World Tower, what do you say, attack, there are more people who have been following Islam in the US itself. That's the worst incident. But people have started, following, more people have started, following Islam after that. And because they started trying to see that what was there in that, what is that religion all about. They found that, it was not all about downing a tower. There was something more than that. Correct or not? Like how you can't just, Hinduism is not just about untouchability. Because if somebody keeps telling you something, then you read it, you start thinking that, oh my God, this is not that. It's something else.
But how do you break this prejudice?
Which one?
The prejudice that we were talking about before, how there has been prejudice against, say, Hindus?
No, but today it has, because there is a counter to it. There's a counter to it. So, for instance, for a very long time, even the Christian missionaries were constantly telling Hindus about, how their gods were not all right, how their belief was not all right, how they were, worshipping the devil in the form of their gods. You understand? And that's when you start asking questions to yourself. You really want to explore. You want to find out whether your God is actually, goat-headed with horns and, with claws and all that. But then you find that, no, your gods are very noble people. You understand? Who are more noble than some other thing, because at least, some of Hindu gods even come to apologize to their devotees, saying that I'm sorry, I made mistake. I'll pay the price, I'll do penance. Shiva does penance, Brahma does penance, Krishna does worship for the mistakes, you understand? Krishna goes and, gets a Shamantaka gem and then everybody calls him a thief. Imagine a god being called a thief. And Krishna doesn't go to, send his chakra to destroy them. Krishna goes and, Satyajit loses the gem and everybody says that, Krishna would have killed him and perhaps Krishna stole the gem. So Krishna doesn't kill the people who criticize him, though being God himself, that he actually goes into the forest and he finds it in Jambavanta's cave and he fights with Jambavanta and he can't defeat Jambavanta. Then he shows Jambavanta that he is Rama himself and then Jambavanta suddenly surrenders because he sees Rama. And not because otherwise Krishna would have not got defeated. And here you say that because Jambavanta was the disciple or was the servant of Rama, even Krishna can't defeat him. You understand? Look at the beauty of these stories. You understand? Like just because you're God, like you can't just go around punishing, burning. That's the kind of gods that you have everywhere else in every other religion society where gods just, throw their power around. But here gods are humble. So how will you tell a Hindu that, no, your religion is bad? He said, at least my religion is more humane. My gods are more responsible. You got it?
Okay.
They don't just bludgeon you because, you question them. You can question them.
Yeah.
You got it? People have questioned Shiva, people have questioned Rama, people criticize Rama even to this day about him having killed the man because, that because he did not follow the Yuga Dharma, that a man who is not supposed to be doing it goes and, does meditation. To him killing Vali. People have questioned Rama. Nobody said, oh, Rama is God, don't question. That's the today's stupidity. Today's stupidity, you forget it. That's not Hinduism at all.
Okay.
But the Hinduism has survived. Hinduism will survive because the pure Hindu Dharma stands on Dharma. Dharma is what is right. You don't decide, I don't decide. What is right survives on its own.
Okay.
Law was not created by the Constitution of India. The law was there. You just codified it. So to say that the law came into existence with the Constitution, the policeman, one night he was sleeping and, law was born in his brain, stupidity. Law has always been there. Even before people realized what law was. Law is always there. Law is there in the planets, in, like, who is telling the sun to move in a certain way, the earth to turn in a certain way? All these things have been there, you understand, without anybody telling that. They all follow their rules. So you bloody follow your rules, correct? So the rules are there in spite of you. You got that? And there is a rule of conduct for the world. If you miss it, then the world collapses. So even the society has some inherent rules, and that's dharma. That's sahaja dharma.
So the shelf life of politics on religion will be very small.
Don't even say such thing. It may be longer, shorter, whatever, but change is constant.
Okay.
That's all. We may have worse governments.
Okay.
so don't be so sure. You
Okay.
understand? We may have Rakshasas ruling next. You got it? So don't say that, oh no, this will go, that will come, it'll be a better time. No. Because I think that this is all like that. Like it's a journey, you understand? So you can't expect to be traveling through a garden from Bangalore to Mysore, I tell you. And you see the hills, then you see the valleys, then you see some rugged areas, then you see some dirty, townships and everything. So it's the journey. So you can't have the same thing. That means you're not even in motion.
Okay.
You got it? So all these things you have to. And look at history throughout. Whether it is Prophet Muhammad or whether it's Jesus, nobody had a great time. Did they? Nobody. They all had, I don't know, you can call it the shittiest time of their life. Correct?
I want to
nobody had a great time. If they could not have, Krishna did not. All the time there was war. All the time there was conflict. All the time there were accusations. You understand? Either his uncle troubling or somebody else, some Rakshasa troubling. Always somebody or the other troubling. If Krishna did not have a great time, Rama did not have a great time, Islam's prophet did not have a great time, Jesus did not have a great time. Who are you to ask a great time? I don't know. I find it really funny. We want ideal situations. I think that even a rock won't have a great time because somebody will take it and break it if it's a good rock.
Okay, so it's just the difference in how certain elements are used.
Perception. If you accept the world the way it is and accept the rules of the world and change as being constant, you can have a better life.
Okay. Pulling the conversation back to history with the mention of that particular movie, what I was getting at is that when we posted the video about, breaking down the facts, we got several comments of people who were surprised and who even said that how do you state that Bhagat Singh was leftist? Or say that Savarkar was right. Such things did not exist before independence. Now, as untrue that is, an alarming situation here is the fact that how are so many people not historically accurate? Whose fault is it? Is it?
I don't think that Bhagat Singh actually declared himself a leftist, and Savarkar did not call himself a rightist, and these are labels that we are, putting on them. This labeling itself is the biggest problem.
Okay.
That's a Western idea. Like, LGBTQ and UIF and LM and OP and whatever it is, to everything, you understand? You put a label. The labeling, because they are specialists. We are generalists. Not journalists, generalists.
Yeah.
You understand? So we believe in assimilation. We believe in unity of things. They believe in separating, in the sense, like there's this beautiful, I think, the essay written by somebody about, like it's about little hand, which hand, which finger, which nail, so that the Westerners go and specialize. We just look at the whole body. So I think this whole labeling thing is a Western fad. So I don't think that, I don't think there is anybody, for instance, some people may think that I am leftist for the kind of things that I speak sometimes. Some people think that I'm a rightist because of my penchant for being overly defensive of the religious mode of existence. But then some people, he is centrist. Some people think he is a ritualist. Some people think, he's a spiritualist. That is for the way they see it. But I don't think a human being can see in India, there are a lot of leftists who have become rightists now. That is the biggest conversion that's happening in India. Do you know that? A lot of rightists, particularly the moment they cross 40, 50 and all, they become rightist.
But talking about Bhagat Singh and Savarkar, there's a particular idea of society they had, right? There's certain
It's okay,
literature
because-
they consumed. So
No.
that stands as
No, their consumption doesn't
how Bhagat Singh read Lenin.
If at all, I was in Kodagu all the time. We ate rice. I never touched wheat. Doesn't mean that I'm a rice eating person.
Okay.
Maybe I had not.
You're probably
tasted-
fond of rice.
No, I don't know. Maybe I was only fed that.
Okay.
And then somewhere I decided maybe rice was my staple food.
Huh.
Okay, and now I don't eat rice at all. You got it? So what you consume, even intellectually, doesn't define you at all. That is like what you got. But yes, yes, I think Bhagat Singh was not a nationalist of the religious kind. He was not a fascist rightist. Right and fascism go together.
Huh.
Because religion is also based on dogma, fascism is also based on blind beliefs, and normally it's bullshit. So that way I think he opposed fascism. He was a realist, practical realist, which is closer to being leftist.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think you can immediately, if you are not right, you're left. No.
Yeah, of
I
course.
don't. The same way I think Savarkar was not 100% rightist.
Very unorthodox Hindu.
He was not a religious
Yeah, yeah.
rightist. He was actually a leftist because he believed in equality. He believed in
Casteless society.
casteless society and all that. But if at all he felt that the identity of India could be Hindu, you understand? He didn't say it was his idea. Nobody's idea is perfect. And Savarkar didn't live for another 100 years to find out whether his idea was right or wrong. We are trying to find out whether. It's already been proven that you can have a government in that idea. You understand? So you should have given him another 100 years to find out for himself whether he was right or wrong. There are so many great people who have denied their own theories historically. You understand? So how do you so brazenly brand? I think Savarkar has to be understood more. If you don't want to celebrate him, don't. But don't stop other people from. But Savarkar never asked people to be killed.
Okay.
That's enough.
So do you think that the
No, that's enough. I think that, if somebody has not asked for violence, any ideology is okay.
okay, so blatant violence is the max cap.
That's all. You could be a leftist, and there are so many leftist people who have killed more people than the rightist people who have ever done. Okay, so I don't think this whole nonsense should stop. We should be open. You should be open and fight his ideology. You can't just brand him and say that I don't like him because I don't like him. Why you don't like him? Because I think I should not like him. I saw this video. This man goes around videoing all people in, or some people in Florida, some beach. Why? I mean, do you like Trump? No, I don't like Trump. Why you don't like Trump? I don't know. What is one thing Trump has done that you don't like? I don't know. But you don't like Trump? No, I don't like Trump. Do you have a reason why you don't? No, I don't have a reason. Then why don't you like Trump? Because I think he's not a good man. Why you think he's not a good man? I don't know. Maybe he's not a good man. That's all. That's the kind of people we have. Then why let them all be stupid. For example, there are some issues in the Kerala story. Why don't you address it? It may not be 100%. It may be just 5%. That 5%, why don't you address it?
You mean the reality?
Why don't you address it? Why you want to just, are you saying that all those people who watch the movie are stupid? Maybe their personal experience is something else. Maybe they must have seen something. Maybe not to that extent, some shade of it. You got it? There's a reason maybe that they are forming opinions like that. What is your counter? Just shutting them up, calling them stupid, calling them, rightist, calling them, andhbhakts. There should be, you address it. Kashmir files, address it.
But then there is a ratio of how much out of the overall 100%, how much is the truth factually, how much is not.
No, don't ever assume that a person who goes to the movie doesn't know that.
Okay.
They know it. If you think only you know it, then you're the stupidest guy on earth.
So propaganda films will never stop.
They
Or is it wrong to call it
make your
propaganda
propaganda. Have you ever made one movie about untouchability where you've shown how the Peshwas, practiced untouchability? Even if you become rich, will you show that?
There have been plays.
Who wants to watch your plays? You make something like that. Let people watch it. Let them see. Let them see that what is the pitfall of caste system. Talk about how the priests have exploited. People have done that, but you're not shown it. Maybe you're not capable of it. Suffer. Till one day when you wake up. That will happen. Someone among you will wake up. He'll become the leader.
Finally, I want to address one last question. Post-independence, which one or two, or we'll stick to two, which are the two most significant events in India's history which you think have shaped us to what we are today? I ask this because post-independence history is often not considered
emergency and Ram Janmabhoomi.
Ram Janmabhoomi.
Yeah, these are two very important.
And
I think emergency changed the way people. I still can't understand how people voted against Indira Gandhi in emergency, because a lot of people directly did not suffer. But you didn't have social media, you didn't have TV, you didn't have literally no way to communicate to people, but still people voted in a certain way. Even the most ordinary person. I still am not able to understand how they did it.
This is voting her out of the power in 77.
Yeah, and Karnataka voted her. That's a different matter. And suppose Karnataka is supposed to be the most intelligent state, or politically aware state. I can't understand. I think I'll take a lifetime to understand it. Second is Ram Janmabhoomi, because I've seen Ram Janmabhoomi, because I think I worshipped the brick to carried it on the head, to gone around in the procession, to waited for the temple to happen, to hated Mulayam Singh Yadav, to wrote a letter to Advani pledging my support to. I did everything. Today I have a different opinion. That's a different matter. But that created a psychological impact on Hindus.
So you think it's Ram Janmabhoomi, not Shahabano?
That is politically, not to the ordinary people.
Okay.
Shahabano, you're giving too much. That was only discussed.
But the roots of Ram Janmabhoomi were perhaps...
No, political sector. That was basically that you were showing that you go to the extent of even amending the constitution. But people don't understand all that. People understand what affects them throughout. And let me tell you, it's always the common man. Common man may be stupid, common man may be ignorant, common man may be an andhbhakt, but he is the one who rules. You better take him seriously. You can do nothing with the intellectuals. They can only celebrate around a table. You understand? The common man changes, because when he becomes fearless, no power can stop him. You understand? So I think we'll see what the common man in India will do.
Sure.
His opinion really matters. Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.